My name is Nora, and I'm a senior at Free State High School this year, and I'm a member of the Islamic Center here in Lawrence. I chose to join the Restorative Practice Steering Committee because I wanted to provide my perspective as a student on the need for restorative justice in schools. For the past 4 years, Justice Matters has been advocating for the use of restorative practices in our schools because in school districts across the country, use of restorative practices with fidelity has been shown to reduce the total number of suspensions as well as the racial discipline gap in suspensions. Punitive responses like suspensions really set our students back. They leave the student feeling isolated, falling behind, and coming back to the classroom without solving the root cause of the problem. The problems tend to occur once the student steps back into the classroom, creating a cycle of disruption which isn't helpful to the student, teacher, or anyone else in the classroom. As our Restorative Practice Committee has been investigating this problem, we've been really encouraged to see that USC 497 has been taking steps to use restorative practices in the middle schools and high schools. Each middle school teacher and staff member has received an initial training that covers the proactive side of restorative practices, such as using restorative language and using classroom circles to increase communication and respect in the classroom. Each middle school also has a position dedicated to a restorative practices coach that has received higher level training. These folks are able to step in and facilitate restorative conferences and mediation in situations of misbehavior or when someone has been harmed. This program is set to expand to the high school in the fall of 2021. We've also learned of USC 497's new and improved system of tracking student behavior and the consequences given to each student so the district can track their progress over time and any racial discipline disparities that may occur. These are all good things. Yet we know that it takes many years and a true, complete culture change to see the benefits of restorative practices. We have to make sure that restorative practices are not just a trend that goes away once the next big thing in education comes around. And what we found is that our school district's policies that dictate what should happen in response to misbehavior isn't restorative at all. In situations like fighting, bullying, or even vandalism, many of our schools' policy handbooks point straight to an automatic out of school suspension, no questions asked. We know that even when restorative practices are used, there will still be some suspensions, but there are so many that could be avoided if our schools would handle the situations restoratively. These policies are the go-to when teachers and administrators are trying to navigate student misbehavior, and many of them point directly to out-of-school suspensions. The real problem is that our school policies barely mention, much less prioritize, the use of restorative practices. That has to change if we want to truly transform the system of discipline in our schools. This spring, we have the opportunity to call our schools to follow through on their commitment to restorative practices by putting it down in writing in their policies. And the timing cannot be more urgent. This pandemic has led to disruptions in all of our lives. And when going back to in-person school, we can expect that the challenges students have faced reflected in some misbehavior. We have to make sure any misbehavior or conflicts will be handled in a way that repairs and builds relationships between students and teachers instead of kicking students out of the classroom. I want to leave Lawrence Public Schools knowing that I did everything I could to transform our community, and I hope you do too.